Hey guys, I'm Jax and this is my spoiler review for the first episode of the fourth and final season of Servant. Servant is such an interesting and fascinating, yet upsetting and terrifying series. It's so unique, I absolutely love it, and I am so excited to watch and then review each episode of the final season. I never really know what to expect, except that it's going to be weird and upsetting and creepy and very claustrophobic. And unlike a usual episode of Servant, which is always stuck inside the house, is always trapped and confined there in this claustrophobic, horrible way, this time they're like, for the season opener of our final season, we're going to trap you in a car. Not a house, but a car. And I had a lot of fun with that. I particularly love the one-shot spinning where you're just waiting for something like the dog to come and jump scare you, and then suddenly you're just hearing the bang, and there's just people everywhere, and it was just crazy and bizarre and weird. All the cult people always just standing around in this very organized yet non-organized way that just, makes your skin crawl. I love it, but I hate it. So this episode was titled Pigeon, and I never in a million years would have expected or guessed that the reason they called it Pigeon was because Leanne was going to use her vague supernatural magical powers to attack all the cultists as they attacked her in the car. Or, of course, it was just a crazy coincidence. You never really know with the show, except you do. You always know. She's magic or weird or super... She's like a witch or something, a cult demon monster lady, and I forgot how weird this show was. As all the cultists try and attack her, straight after the hot dog man starts it off, if you can't trust your local hot dog vendor, then who can you trust? The world truly has gone mad, particularly in Servant, in which she attacks them with pigeons, just a flock of pigeons. It reminded me of Batman and Batman Begins, where he calls all the bats to attack the cops so he can escape. It's just so weird and surreal. I kind of don't know how I feel about it. Like, I enjoyed moments of it, like the pigeon gets that one guy's eye, like pulls it fully out. Like, that bird is like out for blood. That bird wants to eat some human eyeball. And I respect that. I liked that pigeon. But overall, it had a bit of a weird kind of like overload of CGI, which this show never really does. It just kind of felt a bit kind of like odd. Like, it didn't look terrible. The CGI definitely could have looked worse, but it just kind of felt weird. Like, it was just an odd sequence to start the final season. And I also kind of feel like with the opening titles, they also had a weird kind of sheen of CGI, like with all the rain and stuff. Like, I love a series when it reinvents the opening titles each new season. Like, that first episode opener is so exciting to see what's changed, what's new, what's going to be different. And I have to be honest, it's definitely my least favorite one. I didn't really like all the CGI rain. It just kind of, I don't know, took me out of it a bit. It felt less creepy and weird. I do like the idea of this one shot. I like the idea of kind of moving over this incident, this moment that is kind of, you can't go back from, the falling through the staircase. Like, seeing Leanne with the baby on the top of the roof is kind of upsetting. Like, why are they on the roof? Like, it just has a weird, uneasy feeling about it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the other ones were super spooky and super kind of like atmospheric, and I feel like the CGI rain just kind of doesn't vibe with me. Kind of similar how to the CGI birds. They don't really vibe with me, although I love the sequence in like theory and idea, and mostly in execution. It was pretty funny. Like, who would have guessed the final season of Servant would open with a Birdemic / The Birds action set piece with pigeons. This fighting murder pigeons. It's insane. After last season ended with that fall, I was super curious to see kind of how they were going to handle this. Like, how far were they going to take this? How damaged was Dorothy going to be? How quickly was she going to recover? Is she going to recover? And I think the way they've handled it is kind of interesting. Right at the end, he says like, oh, after a while, maybe she can kind of, get some mobility back. And I'm like, okay, so right at the end, she might be okay, potentially. But I imagine for most of the season, she's going to be kind of, in bed, like Misery style. Also, the balls on the creators and writers and directors and whoever made this decision, the balls on that person to not show Dorothy for the whole first episode, and you just sit there waiting and waiting and waiting. It was so genius. And then to have that final moment of her, she's wearing the big sunglasses, so you're not able to like properly read her like expression, even though you're kind of getting a vibe from her vibe. But that moment she takes the glasses off, just stares Leanne down. Leanne's got tears in her eyes. It's just like, the tension between these two. You could slice it with your hand or your knife, or a knife. You could slice. A lot of tension is what I'm saying. A lot of tension. So I have a question about this cult, and maybe not so much the cult, but when the cult are doing their culty stuff, they seem to always want to do it in the shadows, like a car drives past and they all hide and scamper like little rats. Or like vampires when the sunlight comes out and they want to hide in the shadows and stuff like that. Leanne even utilizes this where she like starts hitting the horn, it's like bam, 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 and the guy comes out and he's all like, what are you doing? Stop making noise, la-ba-da-da. And so that's setting up that, you know, okay, make the big noise and they'll scamper. But then when there's like 100 of them and they're going crazy and everything, Leanne's like, not doing the horn thing again. And I understand on like a storytelling level, you don't want to just be repetitive, but just like on a character level, just ring the horn again. Just beep, 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 beep. That'll scamper again. I don't know. And they were making so much noise as well, like screaming and hollering and running about. Like just, no one in the street heard or saw that. And then like, what happened when the pigeons came? Like, is there no one like opening their windows and being like, what the hell? Why is 100 pigeons attacking these 20 people around this car? Like, what is going on? It was just... yeah, I don't know. I just had questions, I suppose. It seemed so kind of like in the open compared to the usual not so in the open. And even just earlier in the scene when it was not so in the open. Whatever, I guess they're just escalating. They're getting desperate, I suppose. Another thing that I really, really love about this series, and I think they do really, really well, particularly in this episode, is because the show is so kind of upsetting and tense and suspenseful, and there's so much dread and anxiety and just like claustrophobic tension the whole time. You've really got to cut that tension at times with humor or with like kind of a relief or like a jump scare that's like a fake out, or, you know, little moments just to kind of go, oh, and then build the tension back up. And it does this really, really well in this episode, particularly when she turns the car on, and I think it's a Maroon 5 song, like Memories, I think it is. It's just, like, it made me laugh so hard. It was just so cheerful and happy and upbeat, and it was just so oddly contrasted to just the horror of this scene, and you're just like, yeah, of course, maybe there'll just be a fun, amazing pop song playing in the car that's just super inappropriate. I just found that really, really great, really, really funny. Also, speaking of funny, my god, Sean hosting the Gordon Ramsay / MasterChef-esque parody show, just absolutely love that stuff. It's so, so funny, just really, really funny. Absolute chef's kiss. So as season 4 kicks off, I'm sure people have thoughts and theories and speculation on what's to happen and how this show is going to end. I would absolutely love to hear all of them. I have so many thoughts and ideas. I feel like the main thing that I'm super, super curious about is just that final reveal of like, is Jericho like, you know, Leanne's baby, or is Jericho a magical reincarnation, reborn, whatever you call it, version of Jericho? Is he come back to life? Is he a magic baby? Is he someone else's baby we don't even know about yet? Is he Leanne's baby? This and that and that. Just, I'm really curious about that. That's like my main kind of draw of curiosity. I'm also wondering, are they going to explicitly reveal things about Leanne and her very kind of obvious at times, but then very subtle maybe at other times, but very, I guess it could just be circumstance that that lady on the news had a gunshot, but Leanne was smiling, which means she did it! So I'm just super curious how they're going to handle those kind of main things, but I'm sure there are so many more kind of, I don't know, theories and ideas and speculative things. So if you've got any ideas, any comments, any kind of, you know, crazy, wild, outlandish theories, I'd love to hear them all in the comments. I would, yeah, be really interested to see what people think and how they think this show is going to end. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below.